All right, hi, Paul Sackett, Good News Planet. I'm with you, your name?
Tom Donahue.
Tom Donahue.
And Elon Arboleda.
So I'm the director of This Changes Everything.
And I'm the producer of This Changes Everything.
What is This Changes Everything?
So it's a doc, 3 years in the making, about the systemic roadblocks that women face in Hollywood. It's about systemic workplace discrimination in Hollywood.
Okay, so well, it's not good news, but it's good news to know about it, and it's good news to bring it to light as this major outreach has occurred here. I guess as a result of big Hollywood moguls, of which I actually interviewed here a couple of years ago, and at the festival, because they're very powerful at festivals. No, but what happened was it's all good, and so what inspired you to do this? What's happening at this time? We're in October of 2018, so our shows stay on forever. So what inspired you to create a show like this?
Well, I did a documentary he produced, I directed, called Casting By, which was on HBO earlier in the decade. And it was our first introduction to gender, the issues of gender disparity in Hollywood. It focused on a single profession, the profession of casting. So casting, we discovered, is the only main title category that doesn't have an Oscar. Think about that, right? Every other category in the main titles has an Oscar category.
Okay.
And the reason why, 75% female profession, they've always just been considered secretaries by the very male directors out there, right? And they've never been given their due, even though there's
Casting is like the heart. Casting, the writer of casting.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
you could write all you want, but if you don't have good talent,
right.
You don't
So
have a
that was
show.
our introduction to the problem. Of
Right.
course, we've always been, I think, male feminists our whole life, you know. We've always cared about the issue, but then we were approached by a female fan who's one of our executive producers, Jenny Peters, in 2015. She asked, would we consider doing a documentary on the larger issue of women in Hollywood, or the issues that women in Hollywood face? And we looked at each other and said, yeah, we want to do that. And we set about bringing in another producer named Carrie Ann Flynn, and we began shooting in the summer of 2015. And then we got Gina Davis to come on board, the actress.
Yeah, she's great. I've interviewed her. She's great.
She's great.
She runs an institute called the Gina Davis Institute on Gender and Media. And she came on board. She gave us access to her incredible data that she spent over a decade doing research on, as well as her name recognition
and let us tell her story.
And told her story in the film.
Yeah, she's fantastic. I interviewed at the United Nations.
I thought she was a great way into the topic.
Yeah, no, this is all marvelous. So do you guys? What do you say about the women in Hollywood? I mean, what are you trying to bring across here?
To come and check this movie out.
Okay.
So that it's not just a conversation women are having with other women.
Right.
I think it's really important that we engage men on this topic. So that's a big reason why I, as a male director, wanted to take on this topic, because I felt like there's a lot I can say to other men to kind of engage them in it. I don't think change can happen without both sexes getting involved.
No, not at all. Not by any means.
I heard Gloria Steinem, I heard her say on a podcast that gender equality is not a feminist issue, it's a human rights issue. And for us, that's the crux of what it is for us. Our company is called Creative Chaos. We make films about social action and using the film as catalyst for potential change. And they have these very long tails for social action. So for us, to tackle an issue like this is no different than tackling any issue that we feel important about, that we feel can move the dial. To us, it's a critical issue that demanded immediate attention. We actually started shooting more than a year and a half, almost 2 years before the Me Too movement came around and the Time's Up movement came around as well. So we knew it was critical, but we didn't know how critical it would be.
Actually, 2.5 years.
2.5 years, yeah.
You know, the real reality, we've pursued a lot of women's liberation, I will say, and freedom content with Eve Ensler and Jane Fonda and Gloria Steinem. They're all on in my broadcast because I'm a women's liberator. My mother was a hardworking woman. You know, we didn't. You know, a lot of what I'm hearing about this whole thing is, you know, by far, and I have a daughter and a granddaughter and things, so I'm, of course, very concerned. What I wonder about, and I'll ask you, is that I never encountered that kind of situation. And I've had women flirt with me and in positions in network television, and I never would go that route. I don't know how these things could have lasted so long. Maybe you have an answer to that. I mean, if 40 years ago, if a girl wanted to be in a movie, and a director or somebody said to her, you know, XYZ, do this, you know, I need this, and I'll give you the part. Where and why would a woman, in my mind, just walk out or kick them in the nuts?
Why wouldn't they?
Yeah,
well,
why wouldn't
it's
they?
a question of an imbalance of power. So
it's
the men,
a giant systemic issue, not just on those individual issues, but there's an entire industry and a culture created around it that supports them not being able to speak up, that keeps their voices quiet. I mean, we've seen this recently in the news.
So it's an industry, because in my industry, unless I wasn't in such a great position to you know, I mean, soap operas and things like, you know, but would never even could conceive that. That's, in my mind, rape. So if somebody would force somebody to do something that they didn't want to do, that's, I think, the definition of rape. But it's still a little confusing.
Well, sexual harassment is a symptom of employment discrimination, and that's a key thesis in our film. The idea that for the last 100 years there's been employment discrimination in Hollywood, a severe power imbalance. And when you see actions that happen in sexual harassment or any sort of intimidation in that factor, those are power imbalances, not just about sex itself. And the Hollywood has supported that for a long time. And
so, and then that, I don't know, I just had, I guess, a different experience. I'm always working for women in television business, and many high-level executives in the television business, because I thought entertainment and business, or maybe television, is a medium where there's women that are home in the old, if you want to talk old school, you know, the mother at home with the kids. So maybe they wanted women to be executives. What do you guys see here? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, sorry, well, I was going to say, I mean, I've only had female bosses in Hollywood, other than working for myself. And we have almost a privilege, in some way, as white men, of understanding something from our perspective, and there's an unconscious bias that we're not necessarily aware of. And we see it through our gaze and our prism, but there's an entire world out there we may not be witnessing because we're not open to it, or we haven't opened our eyes to it, that women experience on a daily basis, and they experience in the industry on a daily basis, whether we see it or not, because I've never seen it either in that sense, because it's unconscious and it's insidious and it's systemic.
It's also race.
And it's race.
Just gender,
yeah.
Race?
Race as well.
Yeah, I mean, ethnicity plays a big part in it. You know, of the top 100 female-led films of 2016, only 3 were women who were not white.
Uh-huh. Well, I don't know what to say about things like that. You know, I'm still a believer, the good news guy, believer that the fair is fair, and that people are not judging anything in this whole wide world based upon race, religion, creed, and color. But I might be, you know, off the charts.
Well, we have a responsibility to be accountable. In 1964, the Civil Rights Act passed, and in that Civil Rights Act, the Title VII guaranteed that there couldn't be bias based on gender or race in the workplace. And we have a responsibility for all of us to make sure that is being enforced.
Yeah. Actually, Jim Sultan, who is Jimi Hendrix's drummer, I just did the World Peace Day. I do that in Times Square in Central Park. And Jim Sultan, who's in my movie, Woodstock Forever, Peace, Love, and Hope, just sent me something just yesterday about slavery, about, you know, we were selling slaves. I think it was 1858, or he said 150 years ago, you know, and then women just got to vote a couple weeks ago. I'll agree that there's been inequities, big time, and it's concerning. And so I'm praying that this awareness, you know, guys have been fooling around with girls, and girls have been fooling around with guys on a sexual basis, I imagine, since the caveman. But more than fooling around, or just, I'm not even saying physical fooling around, you know, guys, little innuendos, girls, little innuendos, that's part of, I think, unless that's going to go away, and no one's going to ever feel comfortable with ever saying anything, you look good, the fear that you're going to be sued. So, I don't know. What do you guys think? What's the future here?
Well, I don't think it'll ever go away. I think men with power should not abuse their power. That's what it comes down to. Because doing that is illegal.
Okay.
And I think men don't understand that. Sometimes it's not just harmless flirtation. It's actually an illegal act. And we have to understand the difference.
Yeah, illegal is illegal.
For us, it's more than that also in terms of the film. those acts of imbalance, those power dynamics at place that keep women out of C-level suites, executive offices, corporate boards, especially in Hollywood, it has long-standing ramifications. If you don't have those women there in those executive positions, you don't have the female storytellers telling their stories. If you don't have the female storytellers, you don't have representation on screen of women that represent what the full complexion and complexity of women that exists in the world for women itself. You don't have
Right,
women,
so 80% of media is created in Hollywood, 80% of media that goes around the world. So you have to ask, what are our little girls and our little boys seeing? Right?
Always, yeah, that's why I'm in this 45 years, yeah.
So 2 out of 3 lead characters in an animated film are male. 4 out of 5 narrators are male. A lot of the women in these animated films are sidekicks without their own protagonism. They die, they're a mother that dies early, or a girl, or they're not there at all. So the question is, how does that affect the development of the way young boys and girls think? And does that allow us then to have a boardroom of 2 women and 10 men, and to say that's okay, to not notice that that's a problem?
And do you think,
so we think it's all connected.
And do you? And look, once again, I'm like pleading naivety, but because I've never been around a board, and I'm on some boards where they said, you know, no more women, or no women, or anything like that. I mean, maybe because I'm on nonprofit boards who are looking to
where there's no money, there's more women.
Interesting. Wow, you're bringing up some very important facts. Your movie must be very good. Let me ask you a couple last questions, okay?
Yes.
All right. First of all, I mentioned that we're involved with World Peace, the International Day of Peace, September 21st. 193 countries agreed. I've asked thousands of people, what does peace mean to them? If you could say your name and what does peace mean to you, I would appreciate it.
Tom Donahue, peace is everything.
For me, peace is not about justice. Peace is about peace. The idea of settling differences without armed conflict.
My second question is, I mentioned this movie, Woodstock Forever, Peace, Love, and Hope. And so I'd like to ask you, what does Woodstock mean to you?
I grew up across the river from Woodstock, so it means a lot of different things. I've had some fun times in Woodstock. We love the festival.
Wow, okay. And yourself?
For me, what is Woodstock to me? Woodstock is a benchmark. It's a defining moment in our country when the counterculture, to some degree, became mainstream, or at least tried to become mainstream. And so, to me, it's one of those moments that the loud vocal minority had an ability to shift and change the conversation.
You guys are so much smarter than me. Okay, the last question, but this is a good one. We have a channel for love. What does love mean to each one of you? And if you could say your names again. It's going to go all over the world.
Gotcha. Tom Donahue, love is everything.
How can I disagree with him? Ilan Arboleda, love is everything.
This is the first time that's ever happened.
The only time I've ever agreed with him.
The movie again is called?
This changes everything.
This changes everything.
All right, congratulations.
Please
where can people come and see
let's
it?
try to change something.
There you go. And where can people see it after the Hampton Film Festival?
It will be in Montreal, Dallas, Denver, Santa Fe, Napa Valley, Lake Tahoe,
St. Louis,
yeah.
Denver. We have about
Houston.
15 film festivals over the next month and a half.
Wow, congratulations, guys.
And then it'll be on SVOD and theaters, and go to creativechaosvmg.com and you can get updates. Thank you.
Okay. I want to also say thanks to Donna Caron, and we're in her Urban Zen location, Tutto Il Giorno, as well as her Urban Zen.
Tutos.
Tutos?
Tutos.
You can see better than I. And
Johnny
so,
Tutos.
Johnny Tutos, okay. Is that so?
Thank you so much.
Tutos. I got you. Great. What an environment here. She's always doing beautiful things. Thank you, Donna. All right, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. We appreciate it.